Kabul, Afghanistan. Right now, the worst place on earth to be a woman. To work, walk the streets freely, or reveal a face is to invite punishment. Tonight, veteran foreign correspondent Sandy Gall joins World in Action to report on the men of war driving a country back to the Middle Ages.
I'm going on a journey to find out what's really happening in Afghanistan at a crucial moment in its history. Afghanistan, for nearly 20 years, a country that's been torn apart by a series of bloody conflicts. Today, a brutal new force is in control, the Taliban, the most extreme and the most feared of all Islamic sects. Atrocities carried out against their enemies and their own people have shocked the world. When I retired as ITN's longest-serving foreign correspondent, I felt compelled to help the Afghans through a charity for war victims. But now, like other Western aid agencies, we face a dilemma. Should we accept the Taliban violation of basic human rights, or walk away in protest?
We do not wish to leave. But there's a bottom line of our principles and our values that can't ultimately be compromised on.
If they stop the aid, with the winter which is coming, a lot of people will be starving to death. That's for sure.
To try and resolve the dilemma facing all Western charities, I'm making a journey through Afghanistan to meet the people, speak to the Taliban, and explore life behind a veil of fear. The Taliban now control 2/3 of Afghanistan, including the city of Jalalabad in the east, home to one of our 3 clinics. My only route is by road through the Khyber Pass. This is the way the British invaded Afghanistan in 3 wars. Now it's the Afghans who are fighting each other. I'm going into Afghanistan today on a peaceful mission to visit our orthopedic and physiotherapy clinic in Jalalabad. It always gives me a thrill to cross this border, to visit the country that Kipling called the magic land beyond the passes. Ribbons of tape at a roadside checkpoint mark our first encounter with the Taliban. They're searching travellers for Indian videos and pop music, popular among Afghans but now banned as un-Islamic. The Taliban came from the south and took control of Jalalabad in early September. This is my first chance to see if reports about their oppressive rule are true. The years of fighting have taken a dreadful toll. Every advance and retreat has left behind more anti-personnel mines. With 10 million scattered across the country, the consequences are all too predictable.
You stepped on line?
Yeah, his leg by men blast near the camp. And
our clinic specializes in artificial limbs. For a double amputee like Sarwar, they are his only hope of finding work and surviving.
Now he's ready to leave the workshop and go home.
We treat all patients alike, regardless of which side they support. Even so, we haven't escaped the attentions of the new Taliban authorities.
Since they took over Jalalabad, we were told we had to keep the lady technicians separate from the male technicians, and we've had to put dividing curtains in a few areas. One of the first things we did was to go to the hospital authorities and explain our situation, that we have many female patients and we have to have female doctors and physiotherapists and other technicians to look after them and to treat them, because basically a man cannot do that job.
When the Taliban first took power, they stopped all women working. But since then, they've made an exception for health workers. Nevertheless, there's been a dramatic reduction in the number of polio victims coming in for physiotherapy.
Since the Taliban have come to town, women have been reluctant to be seen out in the community. So as a result, we're having less patients, female patients coming, and less mothers bringing their children for treatment to the clinic.
This could be disastrous for children like Famida. Afghanistan has one of the highest rates of polio in the world. Polio cripples. Yet with the right help, thousands like her can learn to walk again. The Taliban may be extreme, but their promise to end lawlessness and corruption brought them wide support. The movement first caught fire among Afghan students in religious colleges in Pakistan. There they were schooled in the Quran and the gun. Their fundamentalism was focused by the brutality of some of their brother mujahideen, or holy warriors, who turned to banditry and murder after the Soviet forces withdrew in 1989.
Well, the ambush site has finally been chosen, and this group of mine layers is setting off now to plant 80 mines on the main road, which is just over that hill, down at the bottom of a steep gorge.
Most of the Taliban leaders are former mujahideen. Back in the 80s, I traveled with them when they were fighting the occupying Russian army.
Allahu Akbar!
12 years ago, I was up on the top of those mountains with a group of mujahideen who were trying to ambush a Russian convoy coming along this road from Jalalabad to Kabul. The plan was to plant mines on the road and blow up the convoy. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The Russians detected us and started shelling. The convoy was stopped on the road, but they did manage to blow up a couple of tanks. Now, this road is one of the main routes carrying supplies to the Taliban in Kabul. Kabul is known as the City of Widows. Hundreds of thousands of men died either fighting the Russians or in the civil war that followed. 6 weeks ago, after a year-long siege, the government forces fled and the Taliban marched into the capital. Now the streets are quiet, but the calm seems unreal. When World in Action was last here in the time of the former President Najibullah, there was a very different atmosphere. A communist, he gave a prophetic, if biased, forecast about the country's future.
Does the West want a moderate country, or do they want extremist government in Afghanistan? A government against progress, against development, against intellectualism, democracy and against free speech. People who take terrorist action against freedom for women.
When the Taliban arrived, Najibullah was under UN protection. He was given the opportunity to flee Kabul, but chose to stay. It was a fatal mistake. His local guards were unable to protect him from the Taliban's executioners.
They took him to the palace, and that he was probably tortured. And at about 4:30 in the morning, they went and brought his brother. And I think they were then publicly executed about 6 o'clock in the morning.
There was no need for trial of Najib. There was nothing for him that he should defend. You see, that night when the Taliban enters, so this was the anger, this was the passion of the people, that they could not tolerate Najib, that he is living. They've just hanged him, they have shot him. And that's good, and we are happy that the killer of the nation was killed.
Najibullah's lynching and public burning of the symbols of Western decadence were the start of a new reign of terror for many of Kabul's 1 million citizens. With its clerical and medical staff, teachers and cleaners, the government is the city's biggest employer of women. They've all been ordered to stay at home. Schools and the university are closed. But the Taliban say women are safer and more respected under their rule.
Now there is no killing, no bloodshed, no fighting, no theft, no robbery cases.
Is this why you prevented women from leaving the house and going out to work?
One thing I must clear, that you know that situation is now a military situation. We have told them that till the time the situation gets clear, And we provide such condition and atmosphere for them. They should stay in their houses.
The Taliban have given people greater stability, but at the cost of turning the clock back hundreds of years. Adulterers have been stoned to death. Thieves have been punished by having their hands cut off. Thousands of women are also paying the price of the Taliban's radical interpretation of Islamic law. The Taliban have ignored protests from charities and aid organizations, yet without their help, thousands would starve.
Altogether in Kabul we are feeding around 200,000 people, and for the whole Afghanistan it's around 250,000. This is District 6 in the middle of Kabul. We are doing a distribution for ICRC, and it's a mixed route. I mean, it's for disabled people, which means that they are either blind completely or have an arm or a leg missing, and they are head of households.
Many families can't manage on Western food aid alone. With fewer jobs available to adults now, more and more children are forced to work.
Some of the kids are straight beggars. Some of them are washing cars, shining shoes, and some of them are working as porters in the market, hammering flat bits of metal.
Schools have been closed. What is the population of street children now? It must have gone up, mustn't it?
I'm sure that the population will have doubled or tripled with the closure of the schools.
So we're talking maybe about almost...
We could easily be up to 100,000 children working on the streets on a daily basis now. And with winter coming on, their life is going to get very, very difficult indeed.
Women risk being beaten by the Taliban if they leave home without a male relative. Yet this group of widows want the world to know how they're suffering. They've put their veils on because they're afraid of being identified.
The Taliban have brought their own culture, and it's not the culture of all of Afghanistan. They've brought a different culture, where men and women have to be separate, and women have to stay home, they can't work. This culture is very different from what we have experienced in Kabul before.
My husband's family is gone. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are both dead, and I had one brother-in-law and he's died, so I have no relatives to take care of me.
Since widows are not allowed to go out to work, what on earth is going to happen? Are they going to starve?
Actually, the tradition in our country and tradition in Western countries is quite different. In our country, a widow which is left, she will be not left alone. The brother of her husband is responsible after that. Her father is responsible for her. And relatives. You will not find any widow which is alone and she has no one.
I agree with Mr. Stanekzai. That was the custom. And in the past it was honoured. The widow was taken into the husband's family. But at the present time this is not so. And I am responsible for my 2 children. And it's because the economy is so poor. There simply isn't the money in each family to take care of additional people.
They feel like caged animals, struggling to get free. They feel like prisoners. To them, their only hope is agencies like ourselves who are willing to speak out.
In Kabul, most families do not have clean drinking water. Years of fighting have destroyed the supply system. Parasites and infant diarrhea are endemic. In protest against Taliban restrictions on women working, Oxfam have suspended their efforts to clean up the water supply.
As soon as we heard that women would not be able to come to work, we suspended our programmes, and that meant sending the male programme people home too. We recognised that it would take some time to negotiate a position with the new Taliban authorities, and didn't want at that time to give a message that our women were not important.
If they leave us alone, of course, it will be very difficult for us with no economy, with a completely distraught country, with thousands of widows, orphans and disabled people, and also fighting with 3-4 countries who are interfering for their self-interest. It will be very difficult for us to overcome all these things. Nowadays we are completely, totally concerned with the military situation here. We have to save our country.
It would break my heart, and I'm sure Oxfam's, to have to withdraw from all of this. We've put so much in already and feel really committed to it.
What do you think about the future of Afghanistan then? What's going to happen here? Young frontline Taliban soldiers like Gul Khan can't understand Western objections to the rule they've imposed on the country. Gul Khan says he would be happy to die fighting for the Taliban. He refuses to take leave and hasn't seen his family for a year. On days away from the front line, he goes on voluntary foot patrol, keeping order on the streets of Kabul. It strikes me that people who are prepared to die for the cause are unlikely to respond to ultimatums or threats from Western charities. We had planned a new clinic and workshop in Kabul long before the Taliban took the city. With more fighting, there's bound to be even greater demand for our services. The main problem is that our machinery is stuck the other side of the new front line in the town of Charikar. So what about the move? When are we going to get this done, and what about Charikar?
Well, we're hoping to move very shortly, but of course the situation since we planned it has changed because the front line is now south of Charikar, and frankly we're not entirely sure what's happening there at the moment.
We'll be in production, as you say, within a week of the machinery coming in. Right. And be turning out legs from the word go.
From the word go.
I've really got to get to Charikar now because we have a workshop there which I believe has been rocketed. It's only 30 miles up the road to the north, but there's been heavy fighting in the area and I simply can't get there. Instead, I'm going to have to make a very long detour. The only way to cross the front line is to go back to Pakistan, catch a flight to the northern city of Mazar and hire a vehicle to make the 8-hour drive south. We're anxious to get there, and so is the United Nations. The UN Special Envoy to Afghanistan heard we are going and wants me to deliver a message urging the anti-Taliban coalition to take part in new peace talks. On the streets of Mazar, the absence of the Taliban is immediately apparent. Here women still follow Islamic tradition, but are free to work and to be with men. They can choose whether to wear the full-length burqa or Western dress. Many are frightened by the possible arrival of Taliban forces. Last week, hundreds of women met at the mosque to pray for peace.
You go around to people's houses and people joke and say, quick, let's dance, let's put on some music, let's enjoy it whilst we can. The women who are working with me are very prominent now in the city and very active because obviously they stand out. So they were worried if the Taliban came, they'd be the first to be taken out, so to speak, just on a very flat issue of security. So they were very, very worried and wanted to immediately leave. Managed to encourage them to say, look, no, but I can't assure anybody's security if that happens. I mean, and as they said, if the UN couldn't look after Najibullah, what can it do for you and I and whatever? So they were worried.
Leaving Mazar, we continue our journey. The road takes us over the mountains of the Hindu Kush and through the Salang tunnel. In this war, the front line changes from day to day. Just below the tunnel, we pass the burnt-out wreckage of Taliban guns. This marks the most northern point of their advance. From here, the anti-Taliban coalition started their own push back towards Kabul. We're heading south now to Charikar, so I can assess the damage to our workshop. But first we have to deliver the message from the UN. Commander Massoud, I brought a letter for you from Dr. Hall of the United Nations, who said he didn't know how to get hold of you, and he wanted me to bring you a letter in his own hand. Commander Massoud was the most successful guerrilla leader who fought the Russians. In 10 years they were unable to defeat him or to destroy his resistance movement. Now he's one of the leaders of the coalition fighting the Taliban. Massoud told me he thought there would soon be a popular uprising against the Taliban because of their cruelty and repression.
Women were beaten in the streets. In our religion, this shouldn't happen. They have taken hostages, cut people's throats.
You can ask in Jabal Sarraj. These were not military people. When they were retreating, they cut their throats. At least 30 elderly people were killed like that. More than 100 were taken hostage.
In Jabal Sarraj, Massoud's claims were confirmed by ordinary people. Walking through the town, I met people who had seen their relatives kidnapped from their homes and shops, held prisoner, and then killed in the street by the Taliban.
The next day they took them out of the container where they'd been held. My brother was brought right here to Jabal Sarraj and shot in the street with a Kalashnikov.
Amnesty International has detailed reports of other Taliban atrocities. They say hundreds of civilians have disappeared, either killed or taken hostage for future prisoner exchange. To go back to the United Nations, will you communicate your views to Dr. Hall in the next few days?
Yes, I would like to meet with him. And we have put forward a logical proposal. To announce Kabul as a non-military zone and start negotiations.
Oh yes, it's Sandy Gall here. I'm actually calling from Afghanistan. Can I speak to the Afghan desk officer, please? Massoud would like to meet Dr. Hall very much, but, and he suggests they meet in Kunduz. That part of the mission was accomplished. That's the message. Let's hope the two sides can get together. Meanwhile, I still need to know whether the machinery we used to make artificial limbs has survived the bombardment of Charikar. Oh my God. Somebody said they'd put an RPG right through the G, which is correct, isn't it? Anyway, we'll have to get that fixed up. Hmm? Who is that? The Taliban? Huh? Taliban? Huh? Padlock anyway there. It was apparently there were two rockets in the roof, which you can't really see, but on the top of the building. And all our people ran away, of course. When the Taliban came into town, I think they realized there was no point in hanging about. They might well be arrested or rounded up or whatever. So I think that it does create a big problem for us, that those people, and there are about a dozen who work for us here, may not want to go down to Kabul, you see, under the present regime. So I think it is going to be very difficult. At least I know now that the machinery is intact. The difficulty is moving it to Kabul. That's a problem we've yet to solve. So far, the UN talks with Massoud have failed to stop the fighting. New fronts have opened, and Massoud's forces continue to battle with the Taliban for control of the capital. I've sympathy for the position taken by groups like Oxfam, but staying here to help the victims doesn't mean we condone the actions of either side. Despite the restrictions imposed by the Taliban, and despite the fighting, which is going on just a few miles down the road, and looks as if it might continue for quite a long time, in fact, because of all that, I think it's all the more important that we in Britain and in the West should continue to give all the assistance we can and not turn our backs on Afghanistan.
I have great hopes for my daughter, but what will happen, I don't know. I want freedom for all Afghans. I want not just women, I want men and women to be able to live together. This freedom is very important.